Let's turn to finance now. Your finances. Interest-bearing checking accounts are supposed to pay you a premium for your deposits, but they're getting tougher to find, especially at many major banks. So where can you find better rates? Joining us from Palm Beach Gardens, Florida to discuss is Bankrate.com Chief Financial Analyst Greg McBide. And indeed, when you look at this sort of low-rate environment, I guess big banks don't have a lot of motivation to pay you a premium or higher interest rate on your checking or savings account.
They certainly don't. And, even when interest rates were rising, the Fed raised rates 9 times in a 3-year span. And the average payout on a savings account, as well as an interest checking account, didn't budge. And the fact is, the biggest banks that have the greatest market share, they've got the most pricing power. They don't have to compete for deposits. By virtue of having the big branch networks and ATMs all over the place, it's like a big catcher's mitt. It just brings in all the deposits that they need. So the last thing they would be motivated to do is raise payouts to bring in more.
Greg, we have different charts that are made. I want to show the chart that shows the best interest rates right now that you can get, and it seems to be online banks that do this. But even those interest rates are kind of small. The chart hasn't come up yet, but I think nobody's beaten 2%.
Well, no, we've got a list at Bankrate.com. The top yielding savings accounts are upwards of about 2.5%. That may come down a little bit as the Fed cuts rates, but the important bogey here is measure yourself against inflation. Inflation's still running below 2%, which is why the Fed's going to cut rates in the first place. So, get your money out of that bank that's paying 0.1%, put it somewhere where you're going to earn 2.25%, 2.5%, stay ahead of inflation, preserve the buying power of your hard-earned savings.
Hey, Greg, have you thought about what would happen if rates for savings accounts went negative? I mean, you see this in Europe. You must be thinking about this. What's going through your mind?
Well, I do think that from a monetary policy standpoint, negative interest rates are probably an eventuality here in the U.S., just in terms of the Fed having limited tools to work with whenever we have the next recession, and particularly if there's a deep recession. But even in Europe, where there's negative interest rates, those negative interest rates don't really bleed over to consumer deposits. It's institutional deposits that have been impacted by that. So I still think even in a negative interest rate environment, there's still going to be a little bit of buffer as it pertains to the consumer.
So what do consumers need to do here in the United States for now, I mean, barring negative interest rates, in order to try and maximize what their various accounts are getting?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to take action. I mean, this is not going to land in your lap. Look for a better yielding account. You don't have to move your entire banking relationship. You can open an online savings account in minutes and link it to the checking account that you have at your current bank and easily move money back and forth whenever you need it. But you're going to earn a much better rate of return on your savings, and you're going to, more importantly, preserve the buying power of that money. You can literally do this in minutes. And as I said, we have a list of the top yielding accounts at Bankrate.com. So this is a pretty seamless process, one you can do very quickly, one that will pay off, pun intended, for years to come.
And these are FDIC insured accounts, because some people might have the old school fear of, well, if I go online, what kind of recourse do I have if there, God forbid, is a problem?
Yeah, everybody that we list at Bankrate.com is federally insured. And look, I wouldn't put your money with somebody that's not federally insured. That's the whole reason that we put money into a savings account, is so it's there when we need it. And look, whether you've heard of that bank or not, a lot of them are divisions of existing brick and mortar banks in another part of the country, or a division of a larger financial services organization. And so from a banking standpoint, they're regulated just the same as that bank down the street.
All right, Greg, good to see you. Greg McBide is Bankrate.com Chief Financial Analyst. Thanks.
Thank you.